Okay, so we just want to talk to you guys today about what's the difference between, or what does it look like in the differences between maintaining your points, growing your points, or your points going backwards. Like, what are the things that contribute to each thing? So I've heard Melissa Eichenhorst say this over and over and over, but maintaining is growing. If your points are maintaining, you're working very hard, because in our industry, we're always going to fight a natural amount of attrition. And so for your points to not be going backwards, that means that you're working very hard. So I just think that's helpful to understand for mindset purposes, because what we really want is our points to go up, right? And it can feel very frustrating if you feel like you're working really hard but spinning wheels because your points don't seem to budge, or worse, they go backwards. Okay, but just know that if your points are stable, that you are clearly working hard and doing some things well. But there are some things that you've got to be doing consistently for an extended period of time if you want the actual point growth. And so Christina and I just looked at the sheets that we work on. Let me pull it back up. That you guys turn in every week, and we just kind of broke it down and categorized things into, this is a maintenance activity, this is a growth activity, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So in order for your points to go forward, here's the most important thing you need to know: that you've got to be doing everything on this sheets, both of these sheets, consistently. The daily things, the weekly things, you've got to be doing all of them consistently. Nothing on here is unimportant. They are all very important if you want a long-term stable business. That is the goal, right? Which we know that the short-term goal is 4,500 points. You all want to be diamonds. I get that. That is a very short-term goal. I'm here to tell you, anybody can hit 4,500 points. Okay. What you guys are working toward, and what we've always focused on training you guys to do, is freedom. We want you guys to earn free. We don't just care about 4,500 points. 4,500 points is nice. Not the ultimate goal. Long-term stability and financial freedom is what we want for you guys. Okay. So in order for you to create that business, you've got to be willing to do everything on the sheets every week. And I mean, there's going to be, times where you're doing more of each activity than other times where you're doing less of each activity. And it's okay to take a vacation every once in a while. But when you are building a business, I mean, think about if you were building like a Chick-fil-A, or if you were building a lawn care business, you would know that there's a list of things that have to be done in order for the thing to run successfully. And if some of the parts are missing, then your business isn't going to be as efficient or profitable as it would be as if you were doing all of the things. Okay, so these sheets we created for you to create long-term stable businesses. All right, so we want to break it down for you. If you're missing anything on here, there's going to be that's going to show in your points and in other key metrics. Okay, so the first thing at the top is expanding your networks and building relationships. So the 10 comments on non-Plexus People's post a day, add 2 new friends a day, and comment on a post in your favorite group. The purpose of those activities is to expand your network. If you're doing those things every single day, then you're never going to run out of people to talk to. So the flip side of that, if you're not doing those things every single day, what's going to be the result of that? If you consistently miss that, what's the result 6 months from now? Answer. It's not rhetorical. What do you guys think?
You're not going to be recruiting new people.
Yeah, you're gonna run out of people to talk to. And guys, this also applies to your team. So everything I'm telling you right now, I want you to look at it through 2 sets of lenses. First lens is yourself. The second lens is, how does this apply to my team? Think about your team, even the heavy recruiters. If they're not doing these 3 activities every day, or, we could even add one, because Emily brought this up even. Just meetings, like meeting people. Emily got to join the other day because of somebody she has connected with in person, just living her daily life. She's always at Socheras or Target or St. Simon's. And so if she could just like say hi to a new person and just strike up a conversation, just being her friendly, smiley self. Like if she was doing that consistently, that also would go on this. Okay. So you're not limited to social media. Not everybody on the planet is on social media. There are other ways to grow a business, but most of us do use social media. Okay. So we think that's important. So you got to be expanding your network consistently, or you're going to run out of people. You're going to get to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, who do I talk to about Plexus? And then you're going to get stuck in relationship building mode because you're going to feel like, well, I haven't added enough value here yet to try to sell them something. Like it's going to create mindset issues that you're then going to have to work through, which is going to slow you down even more. You got to be doing these things consistently. Anything to add on that, Christina? Okay. The next thing is creating content. So, by the way, expanding your network, that is a maintenance activity. If you want your points to maintain, then you've got to be doing those things, because eventually if you run out of people to talk to, you're going to not be recruiting, and then your business isn't going to grow. Okay. So in order for you to maintain your points, you have to consistently get joins. If you're not consistently getting joins, your points will go backwards. Okay. Unless, well, we're not at that level yet. So I'm not even going to talk about that yet. So that's a maintenance level activity. Okay. Another thing is creating valuable content. This is also a maintenance activity. This is going to make your IPA get results, and you're going to get joins. And if your content is valuable enough, you will even duplicate from this activity, because people will see you as someone they're willing to follow. Okay. Now, if you're not creating valuable content consistently, what are the results? Basically, it's the opposite of what I just said. Your IPA is not going to be effective if you're trying to grow a business on social media. Now, if you were just trying to do it in person, then that's another story altogether. But all of us on here are trying to grow business on social media. So if you're not creating content, you can be doing new contacts and follow-ups all day, but you have no rapport with people. You haven't added value to people. Your IPA is going to fall flat on its face because you're not creating content. And also, you're not going to get joins because of that. And so you're definitely not going to duplicate if you're not getting joins. If you are creating valuable content, even if you're recruiting for a product, so you're just trying to get customers, and then you bring up the business because of the value, because they know who you are as a person and they trust you and they see you as someone worth following, that will help you create business builders. So you've got to be creating content consistently. And again, this is also activity that if you do it consistently, it is going to help you maintain. All right. So anything to add on that, Christina? Okay. IPA is the next part of the sheet. So it's like products and business. We have it divided up, but new contacts, that's going to if you do that consistently, then you're always going to have a full funnel. If you are doing follow-ups consistently, then you're always going to be getting joins. You can't miss one or the other. If you're doing lots of follow-up but not new contacts, eventually your funnel runs dry. You're not going to get joins. If you're doing new contacts but no follow-up, then the fortune's in the follow-up. You're going to have very few joins because people are going to join somebody else that you loosened the jar for them on. Okay. So income producing activity, this is a maintenance and a growth, depending on if you're duplicating or not. And then as far as the business side of things, your new contact for bringing up the business for the first time. So guys, this could be the same exact person. If I have Sandy, who's my new join, and I have done, at one point she was a new contact, but then I followed up with her 10 times. And now she's a new join. And then I just brought up the business for the first time. That's a new business contact. Okay. So it could be the same person, but if you're doing that, then if you're doing it consistently, then you're starting the process with a bunch of people. Okay. And then if you're following up consistently about the business, then you are going to create business builders. And here we have come to our first activity on this sheet that if you do it consistently, your points are going to go up consistently at the level that you're at. Because guys, think about what it takes to get from one rank to the other at the lower ranks. It's a little bit different than when you're a jewel. It's a lot different to go from 100 points to 250 points. You can do that by getting new customers. To go from 1,500 points to 3,000 points, or 3,000 points to 4,500 points, you've got to be creating new business builders. That is what is going to get your points to grow at this level instead of just maintain. Because at this level, you got legs, right? And so you could have one leg who is a leader in momentum. She's on fire, killing it and all the things. Other one just found out that she got a crisis in her family. And she might need to take a step back for a second. And that's totally normal. That's going to happen because we all have lives. Okay. And so if that happens, then where does it put your points? Maintaining, unless you have a new business builder. See how that works? You need to be wide with business builders. If you don't want your business success to be dependent upon the leaders on your team who are working the business, if you want to free yourself from the frustration of people not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then be wide with business builders. All right. This is the thing that's going to cause a Jewel's points to go up, is having new business builders consistently. All right.
Well, let me just add, I think what's really encouraging about this is all of this is right here within your control. Like, you have the control of whether or not you're going to make those 4 new contacts a day, 3 products, 1 business. And if let's say you do that, you bring up the business with 1 person a day, by the end of the week, that's 5 people. Even if you have the 10% response rate, we're not at a point yet to have a conversation going yet. And so if you know that you've got to create a new business builder, this is where I would focus. I would force myself to maybe bring up the business to 2 new people a day, because here's the thing. I understand numbers. And if I bring it up to 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, by the end of the week, that's 10 new contacts. But I have got a good chance that one of them is going to be open to engaging. And at that point, I'm starting the 8 to 12 follow-ups when it comes to the business opportunity and casting vision. And if I do that long enough, then every week I've got 1 new person who's open to the opportunity. By the end of, say, 6 months, there's no telling how many of them you've gotten through the follow-up process, how many of them are actually in activity. So you double your chances by simply adding 1 additional contact a day in regards to the business. And so that, I mean, again, goes back to the slight edge. It's not a massive change that you need to go and create in your business. It might just be, instead of having 1 business conversation a week, you challenge yourself to 1 a day. If you're already doing 1 a day, maybe you just do 2 a day. So I don't think it's a massive burst. I think it's an intentionality here, especially if you understand the numbers and the way it's going to work, just percentage wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, Christina. And guys, side note, that's coming from somebody who has developed a lot of level 1 silvers in a very short amount of time before. What's the most level 1 silvers you've ever developed in a month, Christina? Do you know? 6 level 1 silvers in a month. I mean, that is, and she could do that consistently if she wanted to. That was during a sprint. And I don't mean like a sprint contest, and that was her trying to get results quick. And she did. Like, she would have massive point growth in the months following that. So, and she understands also that if she does want her points to go up, that's what's required. She's mastered the art of creating business builders. Okay. That's really impressive, Christina. 6 level 1 silvers in a month. I think the most I've ever developed in a month, level 1 silvers, was 3. Okay. So that's how, as a jewel, you get your points to go up, is create new business builders. Okay. The next thing on the sheet is retention. So obviously that's a maintenance activity. So, and here's the thing to know about these maintenance activities. This is why we're saying, if you are maintaining your points, you're working really hard, because so far we've gone over a lot of work, and all of them except for 1 has been to maintain your points, right? So retention is one of those maintenance activities. The other thing you need to know about maintenance activities is that if you're not doing them, then guess what's going to happen? You're not going to even maintain. You're going to go backwards in points. Okay. So that's why maintaining is working hard and growing. All right. The next one is leadership. So this is offering feedback on new sharers' conversations. Now, this is not coaching people. This is not developing leaders. This is just you being a leader to new people. Okay. So we need to clarify this, because leadership in this, for this box right here, this is just getting new people off to a strong start. As long as this is you developing a new sharer, onboarding them, giving them feedback on their conversations, helping them get going, get their first joins under their belt, help them go silver or whatever. This is actually a growth activity because it's creating a new business builder. This is growth. You have a new person who's interested in making money and you help them in their very warm market get off to a strong start. Your points are, your business is going to grow. Okay. If you do it consistently. Anything on that, Christina? Okay. The next thing is personal development. So this is going to, if you're doing personal development consistently, this is what's going to happen. It's going to make your content more valuable. It's going to make your coaching more valuable. If your content's more valuable, you're going to attract better people. If your coaching is more valuable, you're going to keep better people. And you're going to have people climbing through the ranks. Right? So this is a long-term growth activity. So if you do this consistently, you're not going to see immediate results from this. This is something this is what's going to help you create freedom and long-term stability. And it needs to be a daily habit. And it's one of those things, like he talks about in the Slight Edge, how it's just as easy not to do it as it is to do it, because it's one of those things that it doesn't feel like anything's happening. Just like if you were a couch potato and you decided, you know what, 8 weeks from now, I want to be able to run a 5K without stopping. There is an app called Couch to 5K that starts you out with just like walking 15 minutes a day. And if you didn't know any better, you'd be tempted to think, this feels like I'm doing nothing. I actually could do way more than this, but it feels like I'm doing nothing. And so really, it's probably not even any point to doing it because it doesn't feel productive. It doesn't feel like I'm making any progress. When you're doing personal development, don't expect it to produce a feeling of progress. It's not going to feel like progress. This is one of those things that if you do it consistently, you look back 5 years from now and you're like, oh, I can see how that compounded. So just know it's not going to feel productive, but do it anyway, because the goal is not to produce a feeling. The goal is to create freedom and stability and long-term results. Anything on that, Christina? All right. Then the next one is events. This is on the weekly sheet. So if you're doing events consistently, you're going to get joins, A, and B, you're going to create business builders. So this is a growth activity. And Christina and I were talking about this earlier. When I was building the diamond, I don't think there was a month that went by ever that I did not do an event. And sometimes it was online. Oftentimes, though, it was in person. I was intentional about events. And I think you guys need to be too. I think it's really important to be doing events. And you don't have to do them every week, but I will say if you're not doing them once a month, if you don't have one on your calendar in a whole month's period, then I question how bad you really want to grow. Events are really important in this business. You got to be doing them. And I think in-person events are the most powerful if you can get people in a room. But if you can't do them in person, at least do an online one. Okay. Because they're very impactful. There's just nothing like the energy that comes from being in a room with other humans who are excited. And then you as a leader standing up there, casting vision, selling the product, selling the opportunity, making people believe they can do it, getting people off to a strong start. I mean, like you fill a room with hope, and like it's almost like you're offering people a future. And like that is that can have a snowball effect if you do that consistently. Michelle and Angela have been doing online events every single week, and they are seeing a snowball from it. Like every week the group grows, and they're getting results from it. I mean, joins come in, new business builders, things like that. Okay, so you do need to be doing events. That is definitely a growth activity, and if you're not doing them consistently, your business is going to show that. If you feel like, and here's another thing too, you can tell when a leader is in momentum, not a team or business, but a leader. Even if points don't reflect, you can talk to a leader and tell this leader is in momentum herself or she is not. And I would tell you what I think the common denominator is for leaders who are in momentum, and they are excited and they are contagious and they're full of hope for their future. They're consistently doing events, because like I said, I truly believe God designed humans to need other humans. We need each other. And if you are not doing events, you're probably going to feel alone. You're going to struggle a ton more with mindset issues than somebody who is in regular fellowship with other like-minded people who are headed toward the same goal, and they see like movement happening on their team because of the work they're doing with events. I mean, there's just nothing like being in person with people. Like I realize, like we all see the effects of that over the pandemic, but guys, this is really important. Events are important. Anything on events, Christina?
Yeah, I have some things to say on events. First of all, an event is how I got Terry, who was a no for over a year, to not only become a sure, I'm open to I'm totally all in. Like it took one event for her to realize, oh my gosh, these people want to move forward. They want to grow. I want to be a part of that. Number two, it empowers your people to see it modeled. If we're saying events are so important, you guys have got to be doing it. You've got to be doing it. You've got to be doing it. To not do it is going to be handicapping your team, because they're not ever going to know to go do what they've not seen modeled for them. So if you think events are what's going to help your people grow their business in the future, you got to set them up for success. You have an obligation, even if it's not your most favorite thing to do. Ask me how I know, because I know it's going to help them move forward. So I've forced myself to do breakfast bunches for years, team meetings. I mean, I've gone to Panera and had sip and sees followed by team trainings so many times. And maybe no one comes to the sip and see, so it becomes a double time team training or whatever. But now lots of my leaders do their own events. Terry does something monthly. Abby and April are doing events. I mean, you've got to empower your people to do what's going to be the most effective to grow their business. And if you're looking at people that you say they could be diamond, what it might take for them to be diamond is empowering them to go and be successful at these in-person events to create that culture and stuff. So you have an obligation as a leader to force yourself to go and model for them what you're saying is going to be the most effective.
Yeah, that's so good. And that event that she's referring to where she got Terry, guys, it was not anything fancy. It literally was just me and Christina stood in the middle of her living room, which by the way, was not anything compared to the living room she has now, which we regularly cram 50 people into. This living room would probably held 20 people, if that. And we would have been sitting on each other's laps, but it was like 10 people there in her living room. And me and Christina had a spiral bound notebook, and we just stood there and talked from our heart. That's all it was. Had some snacks. It was nothing fancy or formal. It was super cash, super low key. It was just like, we're going to share our hearts, come here what we're going to say, and so that is the first thing I would say. The events, I've done tons in my living room. Michelle has done tons in her living room. And Emily, she doesn't love and having people in her living room, although she has, but she will find local spots around her town to host events. Like on St. Simon's Island, we've rented rooms, and there's like not old abandoned. There was like a plaza one time that had a space we could rent out. And so it was just like a big empty room. We rented that out. That you can go to Panera. They usually have an event space. Like the ideas are limitless. If you need ideas, let us know, but it doesn't have to be complicated or formal. Just do it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. So you got to be willing to be bad at something in order to get good at something. So if perfectionism is what's holding you back, just know that that's costing you tens of thousands of dollars. So stop it and just do it. Okay. And the other thing about events is if you do events and people don't show up, welcome to the club. Do it anyway. Like, keep doing it. Keep doing it anyway. Fallon and I did 3 events at Panera, and these were sip and sees. Of course, we had no idea how to promote or what we were doing. But we showed up to an empty room 3 times and we just kept going. So you can do the same thing. Okay. So just proper expectation, but that is a growth activity. You didn't need to be doing events. All right. And the next one is coaching calls. So coaching calls, this is another one of those long-term growth activities. This is not necessarily, now if you got a new business builder and you're coaching them, this could bring you quick point growth. But developing leaders on coaching calls, that is something that is an ongoing process for years. Okay. And what that does is creates stability. You want diamonds on your team, then do coaching calls and do them consistently. But don't expect it to always bring you quick results or be an overnight process, or you've been coaching them for 6 months and their points haven't budged. Now, if they're not working, don't invest there. But if they're working and you're coaching them and you're seeing progress in some area, even if it's not their points, then you just be willing to pour into people. All right. Anything on coaching calls, Christina? All right. So that's a long-term growth activity. And then welcome calls. So welcome calls, if you do these consistently, what it's going to produce for you is duplication. You're going to have business builders on your team and not just your level 1 business builders. If you're doing welcome calls for your level 1s with your level 2s, then you should have level 2 business builders. And then after you do these consistently with your level 1, then they should be able to do that with their level 1s. And then you end up with level 3 business builders. So see how that duplicates down, but you're going to have duplication. If you're doing this, you're going to have business builders on your team. If you're doing these effectively, this is a growth activity. This is an activity because of what it produces, business builders. It's going to cause your points to go up if you're doing them consistently. If you are not doing them consistently, then your business will suffer from that too. Unless you figure out some other creative way to consistently produce business builders in your deeper down levels, then if you find that, let us know. We all ears. But we know this works. And this is what you can be doing to create business builders, not just on your level 1s, but deeper down. So that is anything else on that, Christina, about welcome calls? Okay.
I mean, it's just important. It's just important.
Yeah. So that's the sheets, and that's why we put each of these things on there. But I just wanted you guys to have clarity on what does this mean for how you're working your business, how you're spending your time, and then also how you're coaching your team. Like, think about all of these things we just shared with you, how it applies to you and how it applies to everybody who's working this business on your team. All right. Any thoughts, questions? I'd love to hear what you guys think about all of this.
Well, I think this is just incredibly empowering. I mean, it's like, you want to know how to get there? Well, this is the roadmap. Do these things. This is not rocket science. And it fuels our belief to make it happen. I mean, it's brilliant.
Okay. Well, thank you for that feedback. So one other thing I want to add, if there's any area of this sheets that you are doing consistently, like you are putting the work in, but you're not seeing the results that I'm telling you should see, come talk to me. Let's figure out why, because there's solutions and we can dig. Like, somebody who's working hard, I will do whatever it takes to dig, because I'm telling you, nothing fuels me more than helping somebody be successful who really, really wants to be successful. So if you're consistently putting the work in in any of these areas, but you're not seeing the results I said, please come talk to me. Or Christina, if she's your upline. Or even possibly both of us. Because like I said, that is what fuels me as a leader, is just helping you guys reach your goals. So I don't want anybody to feel like, well, I'm putting all this work in and it's not working, or I'm spinning my wheels or whatever. That is a frustrating place to be. I've been there many times. And then here's the last thing I want to leave you guys with. And I'm going to tell you this as a friend. Okay. I love all of you dearly. So, and I would have loved for somebody to say this to me when I was feeling those things. Don't try to do this in your own strength, because building this is hard. There's challenges you're going to face. As your team grows, there's responsibilities you're going to take on. A lot of people are going to be dependent on you. It's like a lot of outpouring. Okay. You're not going to be able to do it all in your own strength. Make sure you are spending adequate time with the Lord and seeking wisdom and praying over these things, and like really submitting the whole entire thing to the Lord. Because I mean, it's just your peace level will reflect, that's for sure, how much striving you're doing versus how much diligence combined with submission you are doing. I feel like that's going to reflect in your peace level. It's going to reflect in your mindset. It's going to reflect in your motives. It's going to reflect in how much fear you have or don't have. Just don't try to build this in your own strength. Make sure you are, because you're pouring out so much, make sure that your cup is full spiritually. So we'll leave it at that. I think we're out of time. We are. All right. Thank y'all for being on. We will see y'all next week. Bye.